Hey guys, it's Shanu again from InnoKinetic, here to talk to you about that huge unveiling yesterday by Lotus, their new all-electric SUV, the Eletre. Cool name. I think a lot of us have been wondering what that name is. This car is being built in Wuhan, so my joke about it being called the Lotus C19 certainly didn't pan out. So the Eletre, much better name than C19. I think they did a great job in naming this thing. So we are here today to talk about some of the specs that they've unveiled about the car, and then kind of give you our opinion on the design. What do we think about this truck, this SUV, now that they've fully unveiled it? So yeah, let's start right away with the specs that we know of, at least that they've published. It appears to be over 600 horsepower, sub 3 seconds, 4,400 pounds. It's a heavy vehicle. I mean, it's a battery all-electric vehicle, right? So at 4,400 pounds, I mean, that's 6 Lotus 7s, right? But it's a big vehicle, and based on what we know there, well, that's less than a Model X from Tesla, and possibly less than, I think, the Audi e-tron as well. So, for an SUV of this size and class, because the vehicle itself is very similar size to the Lamborghini Urus. So it's quite big. It's not a small compact crossover. That'll be coming, I think, in another few years. But the Eletre is expected to hit the US market in 2024. Looks like Chinese and European deliveries will be expected in 2023. But again, being built at a greenfield facility in Wuhan, China. So it makes me wonder, is 2023 even realistic? But regardless, we'll probably see the car hopefully in 2024, 2025. What else can I tell you about the car? It's all brand new architecture. They're not sharing it with Polestar. They're not sharing it with any other Geely platform that we're aware of. It's not being built on that Leva platform that we've made a video about previously. So again, full new architecture that Lotus have developed for this vehicle. I'm more interested, frankly, not in the power. I don't really care about the 0 to 60 times. I'm really interested in what's the range, right? A vehicle like this, to me, frankly, it's not about the performance. I'm more keen on the range. And what they're claiming, it looks like anywhere from 300 to maybe 373 mile range, based on whether you're using the US standard for measuring range or the European standard. European tends to be a little bit more generous, if you will. So anyhow, it looks like most likely well over 300 mile range, which I think is a good number to be at for a vehicle of this size. What else? The wheels, huge wheels that you can see in these images. They're 23-inch wheels. Huge. You could see that low aspect ratio tire on there, those rubber bands. Makes me wonder what the ride quality is going to be like. Obviously, I think as we mentioned before, I think the ride and handling guys, Gavin Kershaw and company, have got their work cut out to make sure the car feels reasonably comfortable. We had talked about the LiDAR elements that were in those patent drawings, and you can see they're hidden on the roof, front and rear, and then also in the front, wheel arches, just above the wheel arches, they open up and come out. So really clever way to hide what is otherwise kind of ugly elements. And I think Lotus done a nice job in making sure that those components can be hidden away, but still deployed as needed to deliver that more autonomous kind of driving potential of the car. So anyhow, those are kind of the overall elements. It looks like the car will come in 4, potentially 5-seat configurations. Overall, let's talk about the design. Overall, I would say to you, it's clearly a luxurious vehicle. It seems they are absolutely targeting Model X, which means the price point of this thing's gonna be somewhere north of $120,000 would be my guess. When you look at the interior, really beautifully finished. I would argue certainly significantly nicer than the Tesla. A very modern, very forward, design. For me, in my opinion, I think it looks pretty good. very luxurious, right? Very modern. The things that I think are going to strike the interest of their target audience. The exterior of the car, okay, so overall I like it. My favorite perspective is probably the rear 3/4 perspective. I think that looks really, really interesting, mostly because of that, in my opinion anyways, the rear taillight. I love that signature. I love that straight line going all the way across. And on that subject of lighting, they've done a lot of fun stuff. The front headlights are really cool. It looks like, they've incorporated some lighting into the door handles as well. And they've done a lot of just looks like fun things where the car starts up, or as you're approaching the car, the lights, will start to dance and do some interesting things. When it's charging, I guess the lights will turn green. It's pretty cool. I think that's the kind of fun stuff that I think a lot of people in this segment will enjoy having. Us sports car guys, us pure sports car guys, well, it all seems a little bit gimmicky to us, right? But, for a vehicle like this, I think it's a smart strategy on Lotus's part. They really talked about during their intro this carved by air, and that the design elements, the aero features carved by air, and using what they call a very porous design. I think it's cool. You can see these intakes and these exits at the front of the car, on the bonnet, on the hood of the car, on the sides. I think it's really cool the way they're managing to keep the air attached to the car to improve aerodynamics. Those little winglets on the rear by the liftgate or the rear of the roof, those things are also designed to keep the air attached to the tailgate so that when the rear the spoiler is deployed, you get more downforce effect. So it seems to me that Russell Carr and team have done some really, really clever things and some fun things to give what is otherwise, frankly, a fairly similar form factor with a lot of other vehicles that are in that space. If you blur your eyes just a little bit, you're going to see the resemblance to a lot of other cars in that class. I think Lotus is trying to make their vehicle look a bit more sporty, and I think they've done it. I think that the front of the car, as an example, has kind of a grill, and it's a bit of an active intake so that when additional cooling is needed, it can open up accordingly. You look at a lot of electric vehicles, Teslas in particular, they have no grill at all. And many of us have felt, the design feels like it's lacking something, right? And it may be because we're so used to intakes on cars. Well, if it doesn't need it, then why put it, right? Well, sometimes we need to transition from what we're comfortable with to the next design language. I think Lotus have done a pretty good job in bridging that difference, giving those of us who kind of like grills a grill, but also making it functional. So all of a sudden, now we've got a grill that we're kind of comfortable seeing in design, but it's also functional. So that, to me, I think is always something that feels more correct. So in the end, do I think it looks like a Lotus? Well, I think, again, the Lotus design team are trying to move in a new direction. And I don't particularly want an SUV to look like a sports car. I think I saw something somewhere where Maserati was showing the similarities between the MC20, design elements and their new crossover, the Grecale, I think is what it's called. I don't really want my sports car to look like an SUV, frankly. So I think that there are other things about the design of the Eletre that speak to Lotus. And it doesn't need to look like the Emira. It doesn't need to look like the Avaya. It doesn't need to look like the future sports cars, in my opinion. I think there are enough things about the design and the functional design that they've incorporated that says to me this is a Lotus. It certainly isn't the weight. We know they had to go in a different direction. But it seems that even in the segment that they're playing in, they are on the lighter side of what is on offer there. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed that video. That's all I got to say. We'll see when we see these cars. I'm going to assume in the next couple of years, maybe next year, we'll see one at an auto show. But I think it's going to be a big car, and I think it's going to be a success for Lotus. I think they're going to sell a bunch of them. And I think hopefully that'll generate the revenue to allow them to build the EVs that we truly want, and those are the ones built on that Leva sports car architecture. So thanks again, guys, for watching. We'll catch you guys next time.